Hello everyone, today we have an episode about a hammer that we are building for off-road. Let me remind you that we install portal axles from Mercedes Unimog 32 wheels, Maxxis triple door, power bumpers and so on. In the last episode I told you and showed you how we installed the axles, expanded them, what kind of suspension we would have, and in this episode we want to install the car on springs and completely put the hammer on wheels, and check whether we did everything right. Our client asked us to install good shock absorbers in order to install and enjoy car and not change anything further. And we started calling all companies in Ukraine. Those are race runners, Foxes, Kings, etc. and looking for cool shock absorbers. Everyone usually says that everything is in stock, but it turned out that they don't have anything. But one company still responded. Those are Fox shock absorbers with a remote receiver. Those are good and cool shock absorbers. The stem is thick. Fasteners from above and below, everything you need. We immediately asked to adjust them to the weight of the car. I'm counting on 3.2 tons, and the suspension mass is, of course, heavier. I asked, and they set them up for this car. Now we are roping the stem and preparing fasteners for this shock absorber. After we made the fasteners, we installed the shock absorbers and started testing. We lift the axle up or down and see if there are any problems. Then we check the articulation, that is one wheel at the bottom, the other at the top, and look. We also definitely check how the bumpers work. The one on the frame, that is the main one, and the one on the shock absorber. Our goal is to achieve a symmetry in their work. So that one would touch and then the second, but we leave 5 mm to further tighten the axles. And after that we completely remove the axles and start welding it. Since it is not one piece, we decided to strengthen it with a pipe, with ball thickness of 4 mm. Let's look at it. In the last episode I told you about our business with the front axle. We also widened the rear axle. For two reasons. The first is that they be the same, and the second is that the rear cardan would be perfectly even, like from the factory. We immediately tightened the gearbox so that the level of the cross near the gearbox would be 0. Now I want to show you how the axle stocking will look after our reinforcement. This is the extended part, just bushing. I in the last episode told how it's done. You take the axle stocking, cut it, take off the body a little from the one side and the other, turn the bushing to the desired size, and all this is compressed. That is, violations in size and curvature are excluded. Then everything is welded, fasteners from two sides, and then a pipe with a wall thickness of 4 mm. It is welded from start to finish, and it seems to me that this is now a very reliable axle stocking. To bend it or break it's already unrealistic. Fingers are sharpened, glasses are also homemade, all fasteners here are homemade. Here are the fingers for the panhard rod. They will carry a huge load. If you jump somewhere and the weight of the car is heavy, then we had to weld them very securely. We welded it here and from the inside. There is a thick walled plate here, we drilled a hole and welded it from the inside. And then we close the back with the thick metal. I am done with stockings. And often people write us why we have been making this hammer for so long. It's just that there is a colossal piece of work. We ordered some parts and there is one chain reaction. Because of one you cannot do the other. For example, we ordered 2 axle shafts. Let's see. This is a factory axle shaft. Here is a correct hardening, processing, material, etc. We made them for Bigfoot in the same company. We have already ridden the Bigfoot for several off-roads, no problems. Let me remind you that 52 wheels are installed there, Toyota Land Cruiser AT. Those are the axle shafts we bought, immediately bought with bushings for seats, because there will be troubleshooting axles. Axle shafts we also waited a long time, but actually very good. Everything is neat here. Those fasteners are the most important. We have not pressed them yet, but I think that the manufacturer has taken care of the dimensions. Only after we disassemble the axle shafts and install them in the axles, we fully assemble the axles so that they are solid. We will check the operability. Only then we can bring our axle stockings for sandblasting and powder painting. Now guys, we will take care of the steering tie rod. Let's see. Here are our steering tie rods. They are left over from the Mercedes Unimog, from the factory, from those axles that will be installed here. But since the axles are extended, we had to expand the steering tie rods. Let's tell you everything. This steering tie rod here holds the 2 swivel pieces together. It is mounted behind the axle. Wall thickness 5 mm. We cut it in half, made large holes on both sides, found a cast bushing installed on both sides, made the right size for us, welded those rivets at maximum power, The incision was closed with a continuous seam. If someone finds fault with the continuous seam, I understand that when you overheat the metal it can burst, but we have a sleeve inside, it is molded and will not burst. And for the appearance we found another bushing, 3 mm thick. We pulled it here, welded it in a solid line, the seams have been polished, and now this part can be painted. It remains only to put the seams and paint. Powder paint will not be applied as this finger is not disassembled and it heated to 200 degrees. The inner bushing will melt. It's all. On the other side the tip is screwed in. Here the fingers are powerful. I think they will be used for a very long time. We can say that the welder did a good job. This steering tie rod was lengthened and brought in the same way. I think it's reliable. I would like to put metal in here to cover the welds with solid metal, but it won't be very good. I think that our extensions is very reliable. If you think otherwise, write in the comments what you think. I am interested in your opinion. Steering tie rod is also Mercedes Unimog. And look at those fat tips. My finger is thinner than the tip. We left them and I think they will last a very long time. We will find the new answers, press and paint. But powder painting is also not suitable here. This tip is rolled and it will be unrealistic to carve it. You may ask how I will fit all this with the steering arm. We left the steering gear from the Hummer. Let me tell you everything. Here are steering gear from Hummer H2. We decided to leave it, because due to minimal change in the car, it will be very easy to maintain it. You brought your passports and the WIN code gave you all the spare parts. The only changes are the steering arm. We cut off the ring where the finger is inserted from the steering tie rod. We carved the size of the finger from a Mercedes Unimog. It's still thick. We made the selection in it, welded this ring, made special cuts, and then in this selection we put metal 6 mm thick and made a solid brew. We have already done this and it works without problems. There hasn't been a broken B-pod yet. In our case, it never happened. And we shifted the steering gear a little. We turned it so that the tips from the steering tie rod were straight. Here is such a frame that the bushings are clogged inside. But I had to cut some of the bushings and move them around a bit and brew. You can find fault with what is not factory and can come off and so on. I don't like that myself. We welded such bushings into the frame so that the frame would not be pressed during twisting. And after the work, circles were installed for those bushings. They were welded and everything was completely welded from two sides. I think that now it is impossible to tear off the steering gear from the frame. Well, what else have we done with the frame? We welded all the fasteners. After we measured everything 20 times, springs, height, etc., because it's very important, if something is not guessed, then you will have to switch. I just don't want to think about it. This is the fasteners we made for the shock absorber. The same for the spring. This is for a punched rod. Everything is reinforced and there will be no problems. This is where the bumper bolts in. We took the bump stop from another car to withstand powerful blows. Bottom fasteners for radius arms from Nissan Patrol. Very reliable. And now everything is primed with epoxy primer. Since we have all fasteners fixed and ready, we begin to build power bumpers. Let's start at the back. This is how we got the rear bumper. The thickness of metal is 4 mm, the same as for a heavy car. Someone makes them from 2 mm or 3 mm, we use 4 mm metal. Since all cars of our production are more than 3 tons. Our winch is from Power Winch. Why is she? Because this is a golden mean in terms of money. Since this is rear winch and it will not be used so often. The engine in it is checked, the brakes too. Our frame are cast iron for a steel cable, but we will change it to aluminum with Kevlar. The style of the bumper was completely chosen by the client from the photo. He sent them us, we printed them out and did everything he asked. We bought those hooks, they are power. They are for attaching a cable to them and towing a car. There are small podiums here, this is already at the request of the client, and we did it all. Here we will have headlights, reverse gear or something. We made small recesses so that the headlights would stand perfectly. Also, client asked to make a small protection. We will do it at all. I really like the bumper style, because many off-road Hummers have ugly bumpers. They are disgusting to look at. But we gave this bumper a little width, so that it looks harmonious with the whole car. And the winch, we hide it from below. There is a lot of empty space in the Hummer at the bottom, and we managed to hide the winch. Below we managed to leave a square for the tow bar. We didn't touch it at all, and everything worked out well. Under the bumper the frame is not visible, that is, details etc. will not be visible. I think you saw in the footage that we use various grids for bumpers. This is not nonsense, guys. We do it because we always smooth the corners. We want to give the car to the owner without putty and with smooth corners.
Может быть, кто-то скажет, что у меня так получается, да, ну у нас так не получается. Мы всегда еще дорабатываем шлиф.
We always refine with grinders to the ideal, so that there is no curvature.
Такие вот кривые, да. Ну, у нас это получается с помощью шлифмашины.
The side bumper looks great too.
Тоже красиво. То есть
If you look down, you will not see the frame and other details.
Не видно. То есть мы его так расширили специально, чтобы прикрыть внутрянку.
We also have arch protection.
The
bumper sticks out 10 mm more from the arch. Let me remind you that the arches are not factory but extended. We don't have any plugs from this end yet, because it is not clear what kind of wheels we will have, because we have 32 wheels, but owner began to think about a size larger. If someone has new Bodger tires but the discs needs 17 or more, contact us and we will buy it from you, because the car is big and at 32 wheels it doesn't seem big. At this hike, by the way, the weight will remain. In general, guys, I showed you and told you what we have done during this time with our Hummer. I will tell you that this is a colossal piece of work. Soon we will receive our carbon shafts. We turn it to a Kyiv company that professionally deals with carbon shafts. They shorted our front and rear carbon shafts a little, balanced it and made the normal flanks, so that we could connect with the axle. Well, now we are starting to the front bumper. You can see the bumper design in the photos. This is the client's choice, and I like it. We will build it and show you the whole process, from start to finish. That's all, but don't forget that your ads can hang on this banner. Goodbye, everybody. Friends, perhaps Sanya didn't tell you this, but your comments and like under those videos are very important to us. Because of it, the channel develops and the projects become cooler. Bye.